You think you know what a systematic review is? Well, get ready for a deep dive that might just broaden your definition quite a bit. Today, we're digging into a really fascinating series of articles from the Journal of Clinical Epidemiology. They're shaking up how we understand literature reviews. Our mission, really, is to unpack this evolving landscape of knowledge synthesis, especially how it's moving beyond, the traditional boundaries to embrace qualitative and mixed methods research. It's kind of a shortcut to being truly well-informed these days.
Yeah, absolutely. For a long time, systematic reviews were, well, they were very strongly associated with quantitative studies. Think randomized controlled trials, meta-analyses, that sort of thing. But this series highlights, I think they call it, a tremendous scoping of a field in rapid development. It's about explicitly including qualitative research now, or even a combination of methods. And this is really crucial, I think, for tackling the complex issues clinicians and managers face today. It's not always just about the numbers.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit then. So these newer methods are bringing in qualitative research. What's the common thread? What actually makes them all still systematic?
That's a great question. The core idea, interestingly, isn't just mechanical aggregation. These methods are fundamentally interpretive processes. It's much more like qualitative data analysis itself. So this means you need specialized expertise and definitely transparent reporting so others can see how it was done, potentially reproduce it. And their rigor, well, it really depends on having rich data, a deep understanding of the context that's key, and also researcher reflexivity, awareness of their own influence. And crucially, their integrity is tied to the researcher's underlying worldview. Things like contemporary postpositivism, social constructionism, realism, pragmatism, critical theory. How they see knowledge itself really shapes the whole thing.
That's a real shift from just crunching the numbers. So the sources actually propose a three-part definition to kind of formalize this expanded view. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. First, any systematic review, new or old,
Yeah.
has to be explicit and transparent about its methods. No black boxes. Second, it needs to be inclusive. It should be open to various types of research, empirical, methodological, even theoretical stuff, and different study methods, so qualitative, quantitative, or mixed. And third, maybe the most defining part, it has to follow a reproducible process.
A reproducible process. Okay, what does that actually involve? It sounds like more than just, ticking boxes on a checklist.
Oh, definitely. It involves having really specific research questions up front. Precise eligibility criteria, what studies get in, what stays out. You need comprehensive information sources. An exhaustive search strategy, often, designed with specialized librarians, they're key. Then, reliable selection, usually by at least two researchers independently, quality appraisal of the included studies, data extraction, and finally a rigorous synthesis of whatever you've gathered. And importantly, this process isn't always strictly linear. Especially with qualitative and mixed methods reviews, it might be iterative. You might refine things as you go, learning from the evidence itself.
Okay, so what does this mean for the how then? How we actually synthesize all this information? We're clearly moving beyond just quantitative summaries, right?
Exactly. The series makes a clear distinction. You've got your quantitative syntheses, sure, like meta-analysis, but then you have distinct qualitative syntheses, things like thematic synthesis, where you're looking for patterns across texts, or conceptual mapping. Meta-narrative synthesis, which looks at how research stories evolve over time. Realist synthesis is another big one that looks at how and why interventions work in specific contexts, not just if they work. Yeah, and methods like meta-narrative, realist, and critical interpretive synthesis are really interesting because they blend the empirical data with crucial contextual information. Stuff like program descriptions, background sections from the papers. This non-empirical data, it's actually vital for doing rigorous qualitative synthesis properly. And it also means you have to be really clear about specifying what data you're using as evidence and how you're using it.
It really sounds like there's a call for a much broader toolkit then, especially as you mentioned, publications reporting these methods sometimes, lack detailed descriptions. Why is this shift happening now? Why is it so important?
Well, we've just seen this dramatic increase, really, in publications using these newer methods since the 2000s. They're often tackling really complex issues, particularly in fields like nursing, health services research, education research, places where context is everything. So the challenge now is adapting our existing tools and developing new guidance. Things like better search filters for databases to find qualitative studies, new ways to appraise their quality. Think about it like a healthcare manager. They don't just need to know if a patient program worked, but why it worked in community A, but maybe not so well in community B. That's where this rich contextual data, the qualitative side, becomes invaluable. It really is about combining, as they say, the power of numbers and the power of stories.
So wrapping up, we've seen today how the very definition of a systematic review is evolving. It's becoming more inclusive, much more robust, moving beyond just the numbers to really embrace the richness, the nuance of qualitative evidence.
Absolutely. And this raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to consider. How might this expanded understanding of systematic evidence, this blend of deductive and inductive, measurement and exploration, objective and subjective data, how might that influence your own approach, your way of gathering information and making informed decisions, especially in a world just full of complex challenges?
Definitely something to mull over. Until our next deep dive.